I wish to introduce the president of the senior class, Joey Vettiankal.
My fellow students of the class of 2019, congratulations, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'd like to thank all the faculty, staff, parents, friends, and the other special people in our lives who helped us reach this moment. I speak to you today as a senior in arts and sciences, but I also hope my words will resonate with the engineer, the doctor, the business person, and the freshly minted PhD. This day is the culmination of years of academics, the friendships and relationships we developed, and the growth we all experienced, all have led up to this moment. Our journey has come quite full circle, quite literally, from the beginning here at Convocation, for many of us, to this very moment at our commencement. I began my own personal reflection of the past 4 years of my undergraduate experience when I was given one of the best possible graduation gifts I could have asked for. A letter I had written my first year addressed to my future self. I wrote it as part of one of the final assignments for Dean Jill Stratton's class on leadership I took during my second semester here. The prompt asked us what we wanted our legacy at WashU to be. I wrote about how I wanted to be remembered for making a difference here, that I wanted to leave this place a better place than I'd found it. I even finished the note by writing, "Make the world a better place, future Joey." Like many of you, it was my experiences here throughout these last few years that allowed me to transform into a completely different person than who I thought I'd be. But that's what college is. It's in this unique environment where we spent late nights in Olin cramming for finals. We met people from different backgrounds than us. We witnessed history when we hosted the 2016 presidential debate. We bonded with our friends at Wild, and we shared in an overwhelming grief when T-Pain canceled this year. But it was the people here that proved at a place like WashU the seemingly impossible was possible. WashU was where a guy with a Ninja Turtle backpack playing music could brighten everyone's day. A first-generation student could be the first in their family to receive a college education. Someone could get published in an academic journal as just an undergraduate. In a place where the son of an immigrant family from a small Kentucky town could have the opportunity to stand here and address our class for the last time at his college graduation. But my story is only one perspective amidst a variety of experiences, and it would be impossible to capture the serendipitous moments of each of your experiences. However, I find there are universal truths of the college experience. Like all of you, I've spent the last few years studying some pretty serious stuff. But today, I want to talk about my not-so-secret passion, comic books. While I am not a superhero myself, I feel it's a useful tool for explaining our own graduation. You doubt me, but let me show you. I have found that my own college experience to be eventful enough to be its own entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It even followed the same narrative structure: the origin story, the team-up, the challenge, and the final victory. I wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider or born in stately Wayne Manor, but I came here with cautious optimism. And as I found with all great teams such as the Avengers, the Justice League, and for the parents sitting in the crowd, the Super Friends, my team-up was the friends, the colleagues, and those who I could share my experiences with and turn to in hard times that I found along the way. They would be useful to me in addressing the challenge. I realized for all of you, it was something different, but for me, the challenge I faced was finding out what I wanted to do with my life. For me personally, the great test was switching from pre-med to pre-law after discovering my passion for politics and history. And finally, the victory was when we realized our true potential. It was finishing my senior thesis and fulfilling my academic interests. For many of us, it was landing our dream job, getting accepted to grad school, or embracing the uncertainty of what comes next if we haven't figured it out yet. And of course, the post-credit scene is our life after graduation. While we may not know what is in the works, the future certainly looks promising. And as any good hero has their wiser, older mentor, I had mine. I think back to the words of my thesis advisor, Professor Peter Castor. For those who've undertaken the task of completing a thesis, there are countless hours of research, writing, and editing. And if there's one thing that a thesis writer loves more than working on their thesis, it's complaining about their thesis. Whenever I found myself complaining, Professor Castor would offer two simple words of advice: work harder. Professor Castor didn't offer this advice as an admonishment. He knew what I was truly capable of and pushed me to reach that potential when I found myself slacking. And looking back at these last few years, when the going got tough, that's exactly what the class of 2019 did. They worked harder. And the accomplishments of the class of 2019 could come straight out of a comic book. We will not be defined by the challenges that we faced, but rather the ways in which we overcame them. When a group of students banded together to exercise their right of free speech to advocate for a WashU that lifted its workers up through a higher wage, they worked harder. When members of this class recognized the grave danger of climate change, they challenged our university to take a position of environmental leadership within our nation and take action through their own investments. They worked harder. And finally, when students wanted more accountability and a better process out of Title IX, they created Title IX and organized over 500 students to demand reform. They too worked harder. These were the moments that mattered to me. I realized they may not be issues that motivate all of you. They may not be issues we agree on, but what I want to emphasize are the ways they teach us the value of standing up for what we believe in. I recognize that what it means to work together in other disciplines may seem different, but the central value of collaboration and mutual respect is exactly the same. So the problems of today's world don't necessitate a suit of high-tech armor or a magic hammer, but rather that we use our greatest powers, our hearts and our minds. And these heroes that I'd been so enamored with all my life had been there in front of me all along. It was these individuals who worked to create a more equitable and just place on a campus we've called home. Because heroes are just ordinary people who do extraordinary things. To my fellow undergraduates in the class of 2019, it's been one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to serve as your class president during our last year together. I'm so inspired by all of you, and I will miss you all very much. But our work has only just begun. We must carry the torch passed down to us from previous generations and continue along this trajectory of progress. The world needs our hearts and our minds as we become the leaders of tomorrow. So let's go be heroes, because a brighter tomorrow begins with our actions today. Thank you.